nowhere to go. Turned in, turned out, turned away. Killing time in bus stations, wasting time in all-night laundromats, doing time in dirty clothes, picking through trash cans, hunting for food, looking for a bite, getting bitten by the cold, evicted from society, haunted by the dark, scared and alone. Wondering if you'll see the sunrise, slipping into blackness with only a blanket, dreaming of a better life, wanting a pillow for your head. Good evening. My name is P.McKenna, and I'm the Executive Director of Ideas. Ideas is the 501c nonprofit corporation whose mission is to educate and enlighten American society on the most important social issues facing it today. Tonight, we're going to speak a little bit about homelessness. There are almost 3 million homeless people in this country. About 25% are women with children. 30% are people who are drug addicted or alcoholics. Another third to a half are mentally ill, half of them with overlapping drug addiction or alcoholism, which is basically a form of self-medication. We have about 11% who are teenage runaways, about 8 or 9% who are elderly, and 1/3 of all homeless males are American veterans. This year, there'll be around 500,000 American veterans on the streets. In LA County, there is almost 100,000 homeless people. Skid Row, approximately 25,000 people living there, many women and children. Something has to be done about this tragedy. Ideas started a documentary film about Skid Row in 1999. Tonight we have one of the senior producers from the film with us, and we're going to talk a little bit about this terrible tragedy that's happening in our city, in our county, in our country. Tonight we have Terrell Ferguson, who I really want to thank you for all your help in the film. He was down in Skid Row with me for 3 years, helping research and film this dilemma. We have a lot of stories that we want to share with you about some of the homeless people we've met down there. Terrell, you remember the women and children that we've seen down there? It's just unbelievable. Can you tell us about the family that we found one night with 5 people, 5 children sleeping in a car?
Yes, that was very distressing. We found a family of 5 with 5 children in the car. Mother, between the ages of 1 and 5 years old, sleeping in the back seat of a car. No food, hungry.
No gas.
No gas. Batteries dead. Children were soiled. And when we came upon them, it was very heartbreaking. It got to me.
Now, both of us are fathers, and Terrell has 2 children and some grandchildren. I have 4 children. I have to see children living on the streets just is not acceptable in this country. Something really has to be done, and has to be done very quickly. These children are not learning how to become proper citizens. They're exposed to drug addiction. They're exposed to prostitution, all kinds of other, nasty things on the streets of Skid Row. I don't know if people have been down there lately, but this is a horrible place. This is like a huge mental asylum. Wandering through Skid Row just makes me sick, and I know it made Terrell sick. Now, that night when we found these people, you actually put your hands in your pocket and you bought them a battery.
Yes, I bought
so
them a battery.
So they could get their car going.
They were stranded. The kids were hungry, so we decided to feed them, buy them a battery, and we just took the money out of our pocket, the money we had, everything that we had, we gave to them. We went around, drove and bought them a battery. We went to McDonald's, bought the kids food. We tried to get them blankets so they would be warm at night. They were from Portland or Washington. They were way away from home. No means of getting back there. No means to solve their own problems. So I think we ended up taking them to VTech in Burbank so they could get some type of assistance so that the kids could eat every day, so they could get maybe a voucher, so they could sleep in a hotel room.
Right. BTAC is a wonderful organization, Burbank Temporary Aid, that's located in Burbank, and they do a lot of outreach for the homeless. Actually, I've just heard that Burbank is going to be opening a winter shelter because Glendale's Armory was closed down this year due to repairs. So Burbank is going to be opening up their armory for the homeless, which is, I have to really commend the City Council and the Mayor of Burbank for stepping forward and allowing this to happen. And they will be busing people in from out of the city and taking care of them during the winter. Also, you mentioned getting a blanket for these people. We are currently doing a blanket drive. We've done this for the last 6 years. So anybody out there that has a spare blanket, sleeping bag, warm clothing, either you can put it in the trunk of your car and please give it to some homeless person you find, or you can bring it to us at the end of the show. There'll be a telephone number. Call me up. We will take the blankets or whatever you have down to Skid Row. These people are very cold during the winter. This is a very tough time for them. The temperatures go down into maybe the low 40s or high 30s. So this is really imperative that we get these people some kind of warmth. You know, a lot of these people don't have a place to go. They don't have shelter. So we really need to step forward and do that. Now, you've helped with the blanket drive for the last 6 years. And can you tell us a little bit about your experience giving out the blankets?
Well, it was very rewarding. And you know, you hear this cliche that, you know, the best things are free. And it took me a long time to figure that one out. But when I gave out the blankets and the feeling I received from giving them the blankets, I understood that statement that I've heard over years that I thought was just, you know, a figure of speech. But when they received the blankets, they were so thankful. They were so thankful for the small things, especially the ones that aren't really mentally stable, but they knew they were cold. You have a mental patient out there that do not know how to seek help, that do not know how to take care of themselves. So they are taken advantage of constantly. They're cold, they're hungry. They go and seek help. They give them food vouchers and stuff like that. They don't know what to do with food vouchers. They have to give them food. They need food. They can't go to the store and buy canned goods because they don't have any place to cook anything.
What's really sad with the mental illness problem, during Reaganomics, as you know, they let empty the mental institutions because they didn't want to pay for these people anymore. But schizophrenia is rampant on Skid Row, and 60% of schizophrenics can be treated successfully, which is so sad. We could have these people off of Skid Row back working in society if we could just get them into treatment. And a lot of them, as you know, are self-medicating with cocaine and other drugs just so they can, not to get high, but just so they can function, you know? So this is really something that could be handled with some success, but no one's doing anything about it. We have 5 psychiatrists that are taking care of all the Skid Row mentally ill, which is, you know, probably half of what's down there. You know, there's probably 13,000 mentally ill people on Skid Row. It's just really, it's appalling.
It's a sad situation. It's a very, very sad situation that the government hasn't stepped up, especially for the veterans. The veterans is somebody that's put their life on the line for this country. You know, when they were out there, yeah, they got the hoorah, they got all, you know, they're great people, all this thing, but when they came back wounded, when they came back mentally disturbed, when they came back and needed help from the government, they've been denied. They've been denied. The doors have been shut. Fend for yourself. So you see the veterans out there suffering from war trauma, suffering from wounds that they received in the war, getting infected, laying on the street, exacerbating their problems, and causing even more problems for them. They feel disenfranchised. They feel as though, you know, the government has turned their back on them, which they have. So they don't know what to do. So yeah, they self-medicate themselves to get rid of some of the pain, to get rid of some of the anger, because they have their condition was caused by our country. Their conditions was caused by the war, and yet when they come back, total neglect. So when they're talking about drug addicted, yeah, that's most of the time is to stop the pain, to stop the bleeding, to stop the hurt. They don't know what to do. They're mentally ill. So
Right.
anything that makes them feel good to take them out of their immediate trauma, they'll do it.
Right, post-traumatic stress is very large in the veteran community right now. It's really sad that these guys are coming home right now from Iraq. It's not like World War II and they all came home together. They're coming in sporadically. A lot of them were just kids, you know, a couple of years ago, going to the high school prom. Next thing you know, they're over there wielding a machine gun in Iraq, killing people. And, you know, this has to be psychologically disturbing for many of them. And when they come home with these psychological problems, we have to do something, you know. We have to really think about that, and we're not really focusing on that as a country and as a government. You know, we let these guys come back, and then, you know, we don't really take care of them as they took care of us. It's really sad. I mean, if you look at the homeless population down there, it's a lot of people down there could actually work. A lot of people could be productive members of society if we just gave them a chance. And we're not giving them a chance. Also, there's 250,000 veterans today in prison doing hard time, a lot of them with mental illness. You know, this isn't acceptable. And then, as you know, when somebody gets out of jail and they have a felony record, then it's very difficult for them to get a job. So what are they going to do? You know, they can't get social services if they've had a felony conviction. The federal government will not give them, you know, federal subsidy. So what other choice do they have? Either they go back into a life of crime, or they end up homeless. That's why we have so large a prison population on the street.
Well, that's very true. If you're even, I'm sure if you're aware of this, if a veteran has a drug conviction, and he's not even allowed to get food stamps.
Right.
If you have a drug, but a murderer, a rapist, anybody that commits any one of these heinous crimes can get food stamps. But a veteran that has a drug problem that was caused by the war is not even entitled to food stamps.
That's crazy. If they're under, I forget what section it is, the family can't get help either.
Yeah,
so it's not only
they're
them,
totally
their family.
denied, right? They're totally denied, which doesn't make any sense. But a lot of things that the government do don't make any sense. So there's
Right.
just
Well, the way we treat drug addiction, we should treat it as a mental illness or a medical problem, not a criminal problem. The Harrison Act of 1914 changed all that around when we started criminalizing drugs, which, you know, for the most part, these people are sick. They have a problem. They have mental problems, which a lot of times causes the drug addiction. So something really has to be done. We have to take a whole new look, I think, in this country at the way we treat our drug addicts, you know. We shouldn't be putting them in jail where 60% of the prison population are there for drug infractions. This is ridiculous.
It's insane. It's totally insane. And the way they remedy the problems, they take the same crime and give you more time. Well, this will stop them. This will be a great deterrent from them, which has proven just idiotic. Totally
Right.
idiotic. So instead of them treating them as a medical problem, as you said earlier, they're going to add more time, think that, well, if I catch you with this or they catch them doing this, you're going to get more years. That's not a deterrent. The only thing they're doing is packing the prison population, putting a greater burden on society, when actually medication and prevention would reduce the prison population, would reduce the burden on society.
Well, we're doing something wrong with an 87% repetitive rate. I mean, that's ridiculous. We have to really get these people in programs so they can find jobs and, you know, keep off of drugs and keep out of prison, you know. But it's very hard when really not focusing on the problem. The thing with homelessness is the end result of most social problems. We have mental illness, homelessness. We have domestic violence. There's over 4 million women and children each year that lose their homes over domestic violence. Not all of them become homeless, but many of them do. And what's really sad is once a woman with children ends up on the street, they often will hide their children because they're afraid child protection services are going to come take the kids away. So these kids will never get an education, they'll never see a doctor or dentist, they end up sleeping in a box somewhere. You know, this is just tragic, you know. We have to get we have to really focus on these women and children and find a way to, set them up in some kind of housing. And the housing now, of course, as we know, who can afford housing? I mean, it's $1,000 a month for a one-bedroom apartment. When somebody's making minimum wage or $8 or $9 an hour, how can you afford that, especially when you have children? Since Clinton came in, when Clinton came in, he's changed the whole welfare reform in 1996, where people can only get welfare for a certain amount of years, and then they're thrown off the welfare program, even though they might not have a job or any kind of income. So where are they going to end up? Homeless on the streets. That's why we have over probably 1 million homeless women and children in this country today. 49% of the homeless population are women, and many of them with children. It's really a sad state of affairs. Remember that veteran, getting back to veterans, when we were doing the documentary, he was from the Vietnam War. He was a helicopter pilot and instructor. He graduated from Cal State Long Beach with an engineering degree. And we found him sitting in a puddle of urine, drinking a large beer, totally telling us that his life was over, and the only thing that he could possibly get maybe was Social Security someday, and he didn't think he was going to live long enough to receive that. So something has to be done.
Especially in the veteran situation. And the sad part about the veteran situation is because they have a tremendous amount of empty buildings at the VA that's not even being used, that can be refurbished.
Right.
That would take very little money to refurbish them and put the veterans in there. I mean, that land was willed, given to the veterans by a veteran, so that the veterans would always be taken care of. But yet they've put a rec center in there now. They're starting commercializing it, and they won't even refurbish the building. Just slight adjustments.
Right.
You can take thousands of veterans off the street.
We had a guest on here, Robert Rosebrock, a couple of weeks ago, who actually is he has an organization, it's called We Are the Veterans, and he's trying to get that land back into the veterans' hand to open a veterans' home. Instead, the state wants to make it into a city park or a state park. So it's really sad. We really do need help with ideas during this blanket drive this year. And I hope some of the viewers out there will put a blanket in the back of their car and actually bring it down the Skid Row, or like I said, bring it to us, because these people really need some help. You saw a lot of women and children down there. What are your feelings about this? How do you think we can help resolve this problem? Do you have any ideas?
Well, the first thing we must do, we must be realistic in how we're going to approach this problem. The main issue here is housing, getting them inside of a building. The county and the city of Los Angeles and the state of California have many, many empty buildings that they're not using. It would take minimum amount of money, minimum amount of an investment to create a safety zone, a living quarters, so these people can come off the street, so these people can get out of the cold, so the children could have a life like children are supposed to. They're not supposed to be on the street. Children aren't supposed to suffer like that. It's abominable what's going on. All the empty buildings that we have within the county of Los Angeles could be used to house these people.
Right.
What is the big red tape? What is the problem? Right. It doesn't make sense. I mean, it just takes a few signatures here and a few signatures there. We can do this. We can do this. It's not really a large problem, but there's so much red tape. Everybody wants to receive credit for doing it. Everybody wants to say that the Democrats did it, or the Republicans did it, or the county did it, or the city did it. Everybody's looking to flex and do something for their section of government to get credit for it instead, and they lose total focus of the problem, the people getting off the street.
Right. I think part of the problem is that the poor, the homeless, don't vote. So, the politicians are really looking at their constituents to do what they want instead of the homeless, who aren't really out there voting, so they don't really care about the homeless because they're not voters, you know?
Of course.
So I think what we really need to do is to write our congressmen, write our senators, write our city council members, and complain. Say, you know, we're not going to take this anymore. We want something done about this. And hopefully maybe that might change some policy, I'm not sure. But we need to stand up and do something.
There needs to be a citizen action committee put formed. There should be somebody go around, civilians that's not controlled by the government, that's not, whether it's county government, city government, or state government. There needs to be civilians, volunteers to go down there that would be heard by the city council, would be heard by the county of Los Angeles, would be heard by the state of California to make recommendations that we the people wants and needs this to be done immediately. There should be some type of recommendation from the people about the people that are on the street. Because when you allow a government employee, they are usually just puppets for their supervisors and the higher ups. We need somebody at the grassroots level to take an assessment of what's going on, to target the buildings that are empty, to target the county and the government offices that can repair them or can bring them up to date so the people off the street can get in there. But we don't have that. We need some type of volunteer service. We need the government to step up, or we need the citizens of Los Angeles County to step up, or we need the citizens of the state of California to step up. This is a problem. This is America's dirty little secret that they're trying to sweep under the rug. And when you see it, you step around it. Some of your kids have to go through it downtown. You have to see the cardboard condos, the urine on the street. I mean, it's just abominable. So we have to take responsibility. We have to take responsibility for what's happening in our city. We've allowed government to do what they want at will, and look what it's turned out to be. Look what it's turned out to be. Ronald Reagan emptied out the mental institution, crazy people on the street. You know, I mean, not said that they're crazy, people that need help are on the street.
Right, and like I said, a lot of them could be treated successful.
Yeah, with simple medication. Simple for schizophrenia. Right. They take their medication, they can go back to work. They could live productive lives. Right. But we don't do that. We can't do that. We're too busy doing other things that are, in my opinion, are worthless. You know, that we should take care of our own first before we go to take care of someone else.
And a lot of people stereotype homeless as being lazy or just drug addicts, and you know, people who really don't care about society. Where a lot of homeless people really are looking for jobs, they can work. You know, like you said, a little bit of treatment. You know, can be successful, and people who can actually, you know, be productive members of society. And we need to give these people a chance. We just finished, as you know, you're a senior producer on the video, the documentary Sundown on Skid Row, which we've been playing now at colleges, social clubs. We've played at the Rotary Club and the Kiwanis. If anybody out there wants to get a copy of Sundown on Skid Row, we'd love to give you a free copy. We'd also love to play it at your organization if you are involved with a service club or a college or someplace that, you know, people would be interested in seeing this documentary. It's an hour documentary that really gets into the heart of the homeless population. We spent 3 years on Skid Row doing this. And also, like I said, please put a blanket in the back of your car. Give it to a homeless person. They are cold out there. If you can't do it, contact us. We're looking for volunteers to help deliver blankets. We're looking for blankets. We're looking for a truck to deliver the blankets in, gasoline, anything you can help us with. The homeless would really be appreciative. I think we're getting ready to wrap up in a couple of minutes. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the public about this whole situation?
Well, the homeless needs help. We can talk about it, we can intellectualize about it, but we need a grassroots movement to start. Not necessarily a movement, but every individual out there that hears this broadcast, whether it's a blanket, whether it's a letter to the congressman, whether it's a phone call, just do something. Do something. Help make a difference. Help one of the kids get off of Skid Row. Help one of the mentally able people to be able to get help. Just contribute something. If it's a thought, call somebody, send a letter, do something. These people are desperate. They need help.
You're right. Thank you very much, Terrell. And thank you for all your help in the past with the blanket drive and the documentary film and all you've done for Ideas. And like I said, we are looking for volunteers. Anybody out there that wants to get involved, please contact us. We will put you to work helping these people. They definitely need it. You know, think about your own children, what it would be like for your child to be on Skid Row. What kind of citizens are we breeding out there with children living on Skid Row? These aren't going to be productive citizens. You know, we need to really do something about this. We need to stand up and really face this issue head on. I'm always available if you need to know anything more about homelessness. If you want a copy of the documentary, please contact me. I thank you for coming on, and please, out there, Christmas is coming up. Do what you can to help the homeless. We really need your help. I think we're going to wrap it up now, and thank you for coming on the show again. And I'll let you go.
Thank you for having me.
Turned in, turned out, turned away. Killing time in bus stations, wasting time in all-night laundromats, doing time in dirty clothes, picking through trash cans, hunting for food, looking for a bite, getting bitten by the cold, evicted from society, haunted by the dark, scared and alone, wondering if you'll see the sunrise. Slipping into blackness with only a blanket, dreaming of a better life, wanting a pillow for your head, searching for a little space to sleep and a place to be, struggling to survive, praying to God for help, trying to sleep in bushes, wishing the sun would rise, waiting in an endless line to nowhere. It's the end of the line for you, longing to go